The focus of this lesson is on solving an absolute value equation using the procedure we have outlined here. So the first step is we would have to isolate the absolute value expression. So if there are any operations outside of the absolute value expression going on the same side of the equation, then we'd have to remove those by undoing them. But our absolute value expression is isolated all by itself on the left-hand side. So we can go ahead and move on to step 2, which step 2 says is we could take our absolute value equation once that expression is isolated and split it into two equations. One of those equations is exactly what we see, but without the absolute value symbols. So that would be the 3x plus 2 equals 2 times x minus 1. Or the second one would be take that whatever was in the absolute value expression, but then go opposite on the other side of the equation. So put a negative multiplier, so negative 2 times that x minus 1. So that's what the absolute value is equivalent to, these two equations. And so then you would just go through and solve for x, and once you're done solving for x, you do have to check your solutions. Just because they work out doesn't mean they're actual solutions in the end. You could have extraneous solutions. And so we're going to go through our algebra and just simplify. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2 from both sides. And this piece tells me x is negative 4. If I go to solve the second equation, I'm going to go ahead and distribute that negative 2. So I get negative 2x plus 2. Add 2x to both sides. And I get 5x plus 2 is 2. I go and subtract 2 from both sides. And I get 5x is 0. Divide by 5. I can see that I get x is 0. And it appears as though my solutions are the set negative 4 comma 0, so one of these two. But I technically have to check this. So I'm going to go back to my original, and where there's an x, I will plug in both of my solutions as a check. So I'll check if I plug in negative 4 for my x. And I'll go ahead and simplify. So this would give me the absolute value of negative 12 plus 2. And don't forget about those absolute value symbols. They're super significant in the check. But negative 12 plus 2 is negative 10. So this is the absolute value of negative 10 equals negative 10. But the absolute value of a negative number is positive. So I get 10 equals negative 10. Well, that's not true. So if that's not true, that means negative 4 is not a solution. So then I would go ahead and I would check my second possible solution of 0. So again, I'm going to write my original equation with the absolute value symbols, but I'm going to plug in 0 for my x. And then go ahead and simplify. So this is the absolute value of 0 plus 2 equals 2 times 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So 0 plus 2 is 2. The absolute value of 2 equals negative 2. That's the question. But the absolute value is positive, so this is positive 2 equals negative 2. Well, that's a false statement. So since that's a false statement, again, 0 cannot be a solution. So we have a set with nothing inside as far as solutions. So our solution is the empty set.